The day my brother stood up during our father's will reading and said, "Before anyone gets a penny, I want a DNA test," I thought he was trying to humiliate me. I had no idea he was about to destroy his own life. The room fell silent. Our father's attorney slowly removed his glasses. "You understand the seriousness of what you're accusing your sister of?" Ryan didn't even blink. "I'm saying Emma Carter isn't my father's biological daughter. She shouldn't inherit anything." Every pair of eyes turned toward me. My hands started shaking, but I refused to cry. Not in front of him, not after everything he'd already taken from me. If only I had known what those DNA results would uncover, I would have thanked him for demanding the test. "My name is Emma Carter. I'm 39 years old and live just outside Seattle, Washington. I own a small interior design business. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and lets me help people build homes they actually love." My older brother Ryan was 43 and believed he deserved everything life had to offer. "I'm glad to have you here tonight. Please follow my story until the very end and comment below with the city you are watching from so I can see exactly how far my story has reached." He had the expensive SUV, the designer suits, the luxury condo, and enough debt to bury 3 people. Our father, Michael Carter, knew that. He also knew Ryan had spent years pretending to be successful while secretly borrowing money from anyone willing to trust him. Dad stopped lending him money 5 years before he died. Ryan never forgave him. Dad wasn't a millionaire celebrity. He built a commercial construction company from nothing. 40 years of 12-hour workdays gave him something he'd always been proud of, an honest life. When he sold the business, he retired comfortably. He always told us the same thing: "When I'm gone, you'll each get half." That's fair, I believed him. Ryan counted on it. The difference was, I didn't need the money. Ryan desperately did. 3 months before Dad passed away, I noticed something had changed. Ryan suddenly became the perfect son. He visited every day, bought expensive gifts, told nurses how much he loved Dad. At first I thought grief had finally changed him. Then one evening I walked into Dad's hospital room and heard shouting. "I deserve more than Emma," Ryan snapped. Dad's voice was weak but firm. "You deserve exactly what you've earned." Ryan noticed me standing at the door. His smile appeared instantly. "There she is!" As if nothing had happened, Dad looked exhausted. After Ryan left, he reached for my hand. "Promise me something, anything, no matter what happens after I'm gone." He struggled to breathe. "Don't let anger make your decisions." I squeezed his hand. "I promise." Those were the last real words he ever said to me. Dad died 9 days later. The funeral was beautiful. More than 300 people came. Former employees, neighbors, veterans he'd quietly donated money to, families he'd helped during hard times. Listening to their stories, I realized something. The greatest thing Dad left behind wasn't money, it was respect. Ryan didn't seem interested in any of that. Before the flowers had even started to wilt, he asked the attorney when the will would be read. A week later, I received an unexpected phone call. It was Sarah Collins, Dad's longtime executive assistant. She sounded nervous. "Emma, I think you should know something." "What is it?" "About 2 months before your father passed away, Ryan came to the office after hours." My stomach tightened. "What did he want?" "I don't know, but security cameras caught him going into your father's private filing room." "Did Dad know?" Sarah hesitated. "Yes, and he wasn't happy." Before I could ask another question, she added something that stayed with me. "Your father changed his will the very next morning." That sentence echoed in my mind for days. Why would Dad rewrite his will? Had Ryan done something or discovered something? I didn't have answers, not yet. The morning of the will reading finally arrived. Ryan walked into the attorney's office looking strangely confident. Too confident, he even smiled at me. "You look nervous." "I'm not." "You should be." His wife Lauren quietly whispered, "Ryan, stop." He ignored her. Attorney David Morgan welcomed everyone into the conference room. There were only 6 of us: me, Ryan, Lauren, Sarah, the attorney, and the executor. David placed a thick envelope on the table. "Before I begin, does anyone have anything they'd like to say?" Ryan immediately stood. "I do. Here we go." He pulled another envelope from his briefcase. "I've hired a private investigator." The room froze. "What?" I asked. Ryan slid several photographs across the table, old pictures. One showed my mother standing beside a man I'd never seen before. The date written on the back caught my attention. 1985, 3 years before my parents got married. Ryan smiled. "My investigator believes Mom had another relationship before marrying Dad." I stared at him. So maybe that relationship didn't end when you think it did. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're accusing Mom of cheating? I'm asking questions. No, I said quietly. You're trying to steal my inheritance? Ryan folded his arms. If you're Dad's biological daughter, you've got nothing to worry about. Lauren looked horrified. This isn't what Michael would have wanted. Ryan looked at her. I don't care what Michael wanted. I care what's legally mine. Those words hit me harder than I expected. He didn't even call him Dad anymore, just Michael. Attorney Morgan finally spoke. Mr. Carter, unless you have evidence— I do, Ryan interrupted. My attorney is prepared to petition the court for a DNA test. Sarah suddenly gasped. Ryan, don't. He looked confused. What? She quickly looked away. Nothing, I noticed. Ryan didn't. I looked around the room. Everyone seemed uncomfortable. Except Ryan. He actually looked excited, as if he'd already won. I remembered the promise I'd made Dad, don't let anger make your decisions. So instead of arguing, I nodded. I'll do the DNA test. Ryan smiled. I knew you would. But I continued, when the results come back, you don't get to hide behind excuses. He laughed. I won't need excuses. As we left the office, Sarah caught up with me in the parking lot. She looked pale. Emma, what is it? There was something your father told me. The day he changed his will, my heart started racing. What did he say? She looked around to make sure Ryan wasn't nearby. Then she whispered 7 words that changed everything. The truth will reveal the wrong child. I stared at her. What does that mean? She slowly shook her head. I don't know, but your father sounded absolutely certain. That night I couldn't sleep. Ryan believed the DNA test would erase me from the family forever, but Dad's final message suggested something completely different. For the first time, I wondered if the DNA test wasn't really about proving who I was. Maybe it was about proving who Ryan wasn't. The next 2 weeks felt like 2 years. The DNA samples had already been collected under court supervision. Since my father had been cremated, the laboratory used a preserved blood sample from one of his surgeries, along with legal authorization from the executor. Ryan looked happier than I had seen him in years. He acted as if the inheritance already belonged to him. He even started looking at waterfront homes online. Lauren kept begging him to slow down. What if you're wrong? He laughed. I'm not. For the first time since Dad died, I realized something terrifying. Ryan didn't want the truth. He wanted a reason to erase me. 3 days before the results arrived, Sarah called again. Emma. There's something else. What happened? I found an old envelope while organizing your father's office. What's inside? I haven't opened it. Why not? Because your father wrote 1 sentence across the front. She paused. Only open if Ryan forces a DNA test. My heart nearly stopped. Dad knew, years before he died. Somehow he knew this exact day might come. The attorney immediately took possession of the envelope. It will be opened after the DNA results are read, he explained. Ryan rolled his eyes. More family drama. David Morgan looked directly at him. Your father wasn't a dramatic man. No, Ryan replied confidently. He was just manipulated. I stared at him. Even after everything, he still believed I had somehow turned Dad against him. The conference room was packed the morning the results arrived. Besides our family, 2 attorneys, the executor and the laboratory representative were present. Nobody spoke. The laboratory scientist opened the sealed report. The first comparison confirms. I held my breath. Emma Carter is the biological daughter of Michael Carter. For a moment, the room disappeared. The rumors, the humiliation, the sleepless nights, gone. Dad really was my father, exactly as I'd always believed. I smiled through tears. Ryan didn't. He immediately stood up. This is impossible. The scientist calmly replied, the probability exceeds 99.999%. Ryan shook his head violently. Run another test. We already did. What? A second accredited laboratory confirmed the same result yesterday. Ryan looked like someone had punched him, but then the scientist continued. There is one additional finding requested under the court order. The room fell silent again. The comparison between Michael Carter and Ryan Carter excludes biological paternity. Nobody moved. Ryan frowned. What does that mean? The scientist answered gently. It means Michael Carter was not your biological father. Ryan laughed, then laughed again, only this time. It sounded terrified. No, he grabbed the report. This is fake. The scientist slid another folder across the table. A second laboratory reached the exact same conclusion. Ryan's hands began shaking. Lauren covered her mouth. Oh my God, Sarah started crying quietly. I couldn't speak, not because Ryan wasn't Dad's biological son, because Dad had loved him exactly the same anyway. Attorney Morgan slowly picked up the old envelope. I believe your father expected this. He opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter. He began reading. If this letter is being read, then Ryan chose money over family. Ryan froze. I discovered the truth 21 years ago. Everyone stared silently. Your mother confessed that Ryan was conceived before we met. Lauren looked at Ryan. He couldn't even breathe. The letter continued. She offered to leave. Instead, I chose to become Ryan's father. Tears filled my eyes. That was exactly who Dad was. He chose love, not biology. Then came the sentence none of us expected. Ryan was never punished because he wasn't my biological son. He was loved because he was my son. Even Ryan started crying. For the first time, not because of money, because he finally understood what Dad had given him. Attorney Morgan unfolded another document. There is one final amendment. Ryan looked exhausted. What now? This amendment was signed 4 years ago. Morgan continued. If either child attempts to remove the other from the estate using knowingly false accusations, fabricated evidence, or malicious legal action. He looked directly at Ryan. That person's inheritance shall immediately be forfeited. Ryan whispered. No. Morgan wasn't finished. The forfeited inheritance will be donated equally to children's hospitals, veterans rehabilitation programs, and scholarships for young construction apprentices. Ryan slammed his fist on the table. You can't take everything, Morgan calmly replied. Your father already did. Ryan's own attorney quietly leaned toward him. I warned you. Ryan stared blankly. What? You never listened. Then came the final surprise. Sarah placed a security folder on the table. My turn. Inside were security videos from 4 years earlier. They showed Ryan entering Michael Carter's office after midnight, searching through private files, photographing legal documents, attempting to remove paperwork from a locked cabinet. Ryan's face turned white. Sarah interrupted. Michael saw the footage the next morning. He never confronted you. Instead, he rewrote his entire estate plan. Ryan slowly realized something. Dad hadn't changed the will because he doubted me. He changed it because he no longer trusted him. The court later ruled that Ryan's accusations had been malicious and financially motivated. The forfeiture clause remained valid. Nearly $4 million went exactly where Dad wanted. Children fighting cancer, disabled veterans rebuilding their lives, scholarship funds for young people entering the construction industry. Ryan received nothing. Not because of his DNA, because of his choices. The truth spread quickly through the family. Every relative who had believed Ryan's rumors called to apologize. Some cried. Others admitted they should have trusted me. I forgave them. Fear makes people believe